So today, I wanted to take a look at some of the floral humanoids that were uploaded that I never had a chance to look at. Some honorable mentions. Really, really good job. I think some of these were made after my initial critique, and I think they took the words that I was expressing about how it's supposed to be a humanoid, not a full like costume design. I think they took that into consideration and they completed their piece. There's this one, and then there is, sorry, that's police. And then there's this one. No, there were two floral humanoids that I saved. No, I didn't save the other one. I think I did. Let me see real quick. Challenge submissions. This one, yeah, I saved this one as well. Floral humanoid concept. So yeah, I wanted to take a look at these too, and take a look at almost everything I picked out today for us to look at. I didn't want to skip anything. I have a nice amount of time, so I should be able to, unless my voice gives out or something. But yeah, let's take a look at these. So if you guys remember back to the critique hour I did for the Floral Humanoids concept challenge, I was talking a lot about making sure the silhouette reads, making sure the silhouette is interesting, making sure you're using beauty standards where it is appropriate, and then omitting like certain parts of the face. If they don't speak, then the lips are not there, or something to push the feeling that it is non-human, but just a little bit of a human is left over, hence leaving you with the humanoid part of the character design. Having see-through parts as well makes it feel like they've taken the shape, the weeds and the foliage has taken the shape of a human silhouette, but isn't human anatomy or isn't human mechanics or circulatory system or respiratory or excretory system or something like that. So really, really good job taking those corrections into consideration. A couple things. The face looks extremely masculine. And the reason why it looks masculine is because you've got this really, really chiseled little shape. This shape, we use it for men a lot. For women, we use this one. For the front view, like the front view, we use this one for women. We're basically cutting corners when it comes to a woman's facial features. The bone structure is altered between testosterone and estrogen dominance, so we don't have masculine bone changes on a female's face, especially if we're designing. Ideally, we want to get rid of that. So what you have here is you're pushing the feeling of a female, because what you've done is you've distributed the weight on the lower half of the body, and the female has, by silhouette, by standard symbol, men have weight at the top of the body, and women have weight at the bottom of the body. Okay, so this is just what women do. Even when they're skinny, we have weight at the bottom. And we use these two triangles to summarize that, not ideal, but those two ends of the spectrum and the genders involved. And as designers, you have to be aware and versed in these symbols in your designs. So this reads as a female. So because it reads as a female, I'm going to just get rid of that. It's reading as uncanny when we give a male face to a female body. And it reads as a very, I guess we can say, unusual or distorted or malformed. If you guys ever searched it up, they kind of King Tut human form. They said that King Tut was very malformed because the inbreeding that he was in his family, so he had a very female body. So his very low body weight at the lower half, and his head was very elongated. He had all kinds of distortions. I mean, not distortions, deformations. What do you call them? Like mutations? I don't know. Just disabilities, I guess we can say now. So he had real, what's the fucking word for it? Something that starts with a D. It's not coming to me. And when we have these overlapping of these two different kinds of body types, then we can call it non-human. It's human, but we call it like deformed. That's the word, deformed human. Yeah, and as designers, you have to make sure you don't pull these kinds of mistakes. He still had testosterone-y face. We can still say it's a boy's face. I guess the deformations are what led to him having a different kind of body because of the inbreeding. in the Egyptian dynasties or whatever they're called. So what we want to do is get rid of this silhouette, soften it up, and give it a female face. And because you've exaggerated features, what's odd to me is if you exaggerated the features, you've given us that chibi kind of, that chibi body, something like that. And we give it the large head. What we want to do is the chibi body, that chibi look, which is like a just like a cute version of everything, or an anime cute version. It stretches across all kinds of styles. It goes from Cartoon Network, Hanna-Barbera type of style to anime. We've used it everywhere for all kinds of characters that need this kind of silhouette. I don't know why he's evil and why he's like, let's give him a little belly button. So what we want to do is enlarge the eyes. What's weird to me is that you've used the chibi body, but you've used a perfectly like human face. You know, with all of the features intact, or like at least all the measurements intact. So you drew a human face and you got rid of the rest of the space here. When we have a creature that we express as a non-talking creature, it doesn't speak, what we want to do is not draw its mouth, but we also want to give the space to the eyes, the space left over from not having drawn the nose or the mouth, we give it to the eyes. And so what you did here was you kind of just kept it realistic proportions, and it just felt like it was a human missing the rest of its features instead of it reading as an alien creature. And you exaggerated all the other features, but you kept the face perfectly intact, which again read as an other instead of it reading as a, continuing that theme of the chibi-ish cute flower person or flower creature. So what we want to do is, I'm just going to draw some basic bone structure, and then give the shape to the eyes. Okay, so because you went there with the body, you enlarged the hips, you have to respond with the eyes. It's standard procedure. We see this with the way they designed Eva from WALL-E. We see this everywhere. When you get rid of the mouth, the eyes take over the character design. They take over the face. I was trying to say Eve and face at the same time, so I just said face. Eva or Evie? Eva. WALL-E. Okay. So no mouth, no nose, but the eyes take over the rest of the space. So they didn't really put any like sexual weight distribution on the body, so they didn't give her massive wide hips, and I think that pertains to sex and male female and whatnot, but yeah, everything else is exactly as they did it, exactly as it's supposed to be. When you're missing a mouth, it doesn't have to be a chibi, it doesn't have to be anime, it's just part of the character. If they shrunk her eyes, it would have read as a male. So if they did have a male version of her, they would have to shrink the eyes and tilt them downward. So tilt them like this. If it was a male version of Eva. So she has these eyes, the male would have had to have these eyes or something like that. And it would have read as a male instead of a female. You did give it whites in the eyes, so again, that reads as too human, but you could have kept the whites in the eyes. That's fine. But what we want to do is express that the eyes have taken over the entirety of the face, and we're not really reading like a human anymore. So now we're not really missing the lips, are we? We're not missing the mouth. And in Eva's design, we also didn't miss the mouth. We didn't say, oh, I wish she had a mouth. We would say that if her eyes didn't take up the space of her face. Okay? So really, really basic stuff. As a designer, there are rules you just can't break, or else we get something weird looking, because you're basing everything on pre-existing anatomy. And the pre-existing anatomy has rules. And you have to understand these rules. Biological, social, you just have to understand some of them. Okay, so I'm basically just giving the eyes so you can change the color, it really doesn't matter. And what I would do is I would either enlarge the head or just get rid of the jaw, get rid of the chin and the jaw. A jaw is needed for a mouth that opens. If you want to eat, you need to open your mouth, therefore you need a jaw. hinged on two joints. But if she's not eating with her mouth, she doesn't need to eat, she doesn't need to speak, she doesn't need a jaw, does she? She can probably speak telepathically or something like that. What the hell did I draw? Let's finish this little guy. I'm gonna give him a head of hair. Oh, it looks like a poop. Okay, shut up, Istebrak. Okay. Alright. So now she looks a little bit more curious. Like she's, I don't know, it feels like she just discovered her, or she reached her final form and she's just having a look at her new specs. And before, the face felt a little limited. And too human and too masculine as well. It was not matching the rest of the body. To eat, you need a jaw. Lessons from... Really, you guys? There are these people who have these deformations who don't have jaws. And what they have to do is eat through a tube. This is real. This is a real medical problem that people have. They eat through tubes. They have this little thingy attached to them, and they can't poop or they can't eat, or something happens, and they don't eat like the rest of us do. Maybe their intestines are intact or something like that, but because they don't have a jaw, there's no way for them to chew food and digest it properly. So they have to eat pre-made or pureed food through a tube, which is really unfortunate. It breaks my heart describing it, but it's that's the function of it. It's true. Okay, so nice job on the light source. We use the color of the light source to... Did you draw this or did I draw this? I don't know. I'm going to use it. We do use this light source color to we throw this on top of everything. And what the light source does is it desaturates anything that it really shines on. So this green was way too green, excessively green, almost like a crayon color. What we want to do is match everything as if it's sitting under the same light source. And the way we do that is by using the exact same light source color on the object. I might just darken these with like a color or something. There we go. Now we're bringing in a new color. Okay. And then, what else would I change? Oh, I'm just going to leave it at these changes. I recommend you make these changes as well, because this is a portfolio piece that you're going to end up using. And one thing I would add is subsurface scattering somewhere around here. It's a really nice opportunity to show off some subsurface scattering. And remember, subsurface scattering sits on the shadows. It shines inside and out, diffusing shadows. Look at that. That's so pretty, right? I love subsurface scattering. It's so gorgeous. So right here along the shadow, we have a little bit of a glow. Sometimes when it's like, when the stars are aligned, Dodge Tool does exactly what you want it to do. And you just feel like just dancing. So you don't put subsurface scattering over here because this area is already getting some light, right? That's not really going to show if there was light caught inside this translucent material. I would recommend you figure the mechanics out over here. What is happening here? Is it a fixed structure? Why is there light here if the light is coming from this side? So I can't really make sense of the anatomy in this area. You seem to just have a blind spot. If there is no anatomy, just simply make it like a very basic shape. Give it some form and just go back to your form studies. Probably just build up something where you have some kind of lighting used on this. Just something like that. Nothing extreme. But we're bringing saturation in as well. And we're casting some shadows off the hip. It's too much erasing. I'm just going to diffuse that just a touch. Bring that light source color back and use it there. When you have an object or a flower or a character design that has highest level saturation and is a bright object, you can't just have parts of it that are pastel. You have to match saturation levels throughout the design. Okay, so write that back to me. Match saturation levels throughout color choices. You have to make sure they all sit from the same saturation. You can't have this like random desaturated green muck beside the super blue turquoise aqua color. Okay? You're not allowed. Gonna give the face some more structure. Make it feel like real forms. Okay. And if you wanted it to read as a mature woman, not as a chibi cute woman, you have to elongate the face, but you have to enlarge the eyes as you do that. Remember, the eyes are the most important thing. That's why this character right now is so successful at design, is because of the eyes. And you see the form here in this brow area, the brow bone area. Really, really important. This basic anatomy stuff, anatomy signatures you pick up along the way. Deselect. And I'm just gonna darken this. And then, oops, I'm gonna merge that down first. Darken that, and then we can bring in the secondary light source on the new layer, and then just start revealing some of the pieces that were kind of hidden by the light. So just around here on this arm, a little bit on this leg, just to reveal it. Because we use diffuse light and secondary light sources to reveal what shadows the primary light source has hit, the form of the shadows. The form that the shadows of the primary light source has hidden. We want to reveal it. We don't want to lose form. We want to gain form. And sometimes the primary light source is too strong. It hides anatomy. We want to reveal some. So we get a little bit of light to do the job. So I'm going to take some questions now. Please make sure the questions are relevant to what I just explained. Don't ask like random stuff. Please. Because I'll be compelled to explain it, and you know me, I go on and on, so I'm just trying to like not enable that. Okay. Normal. Alright. I'm just gonna look at this face. Look at this face I drew. Looks like Vegeta. Istebrak, it looks like Kindred body. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Exactly the hell. Yeah, exactly. Kindred. Kindred is the perfect example of this. They did this exact setup. They did this exact thing. Large eyes, small face. You just can't you can't like make it as if the eyes like the nose and the mouth, there's still space for them left. You either have it or you don't. I love this. Looks like a form study. So pretty. Okay. Is the secondary light source you are adding from the general light environment? Yes, it's the light bounced off the wall provided by the primary light source. So unless it's like a light of its own. If she had a bunch of fireflies flying around, just like a bunch of random fireflies, then they would be the secondary light source diffusion you need in select areas. But right now I'm just using the general light environment, bounce light coming off the ambient occlusion or whatnot, bounced off the light source, off the environment, diffusing all shadows collectively. And right along the line of Dodge tool did it already, but I'm just adding just a little bit more saturation along some of this. This one is forced. The light didn't really shine through, but I'm just going to force it. Some saturation along the subsurface scattering. This still feels very, very desaturated. Giving it some color. And then just on the areas where the light really is present, that's where I'm going to saturate the green. You can't saturate the green everywhere. It has to be only on the areas that the light is touching. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of these weird freaks that I just drew. I'm just going to get rid of that shit. And then I'll show you the before and after. Before, after. Do you see how with it being masculine, downturned corners, really strong brow structure, strong cheek line. It was like a man with a woman's body. It was very, very uncanny. And after we got rid of all of that. You can make these colors, you can change the colors I chose, you can have a different eye color. I'm not forcing, some people really misinterpret the things that I do on my critique hour. Like in the comment section on YouTube, some people just go nuts. They're like, oh, your changes suck, they ruined the painting. It's like, you don't have to follow every single topic that I covered. You don't have to make these changes. They're not the only option. But they do source from a non-optional, fundamental knowledge, and we can't just disregard the knowledge because, well, you just don't feel like listening to me today. You don't have to disregard the knowledge to express your hatred for me. You can just say I hate you, but it's good knowledge, but I hate you. You can say that, but don't say, oh yeah, the knowledge is optional, these changes were optional. No, they weren't. These changes are not optional, they're universal. They're actually here for a reason. So I'm just bringing some purple into the shadows just because that was too much red. But if you're talking shit on my videos, refer to my Twitter for my response. My collective response on all those haters who decide to talk shit about my videos without even giving them a chance. Please refer to Twitter for my general response on your behavior. Istebrak, I have one of those tubes. I should draw it, for example, for everyone. Sure. I'm really confused about making faces read as male or female, but what about fit and athletic women? How do I make them make them still read as a female? They still look like females even though if they're athletic. You didn't change the genetic structure or the hormonal structure. You just draw them generally skinnier with a little bit more definition in the bone structure and better posture. But everything is still there. I love what you've done, Istebrak. Yes, very masculine. Sorry, we'll work on it. Oh, this is yours, Rosalinda. Yeah, go for it. I think I made a little bit of a mistake. I brought in too much saturation on a non-focal point in the design, which is the face. So I'm just going to desaturate that so it goes back to the face. Yeah, and that's it. Good luck. And make sure you post the corrections so that I can have a look at that. All right, another floral humanoid. Very, very good job. Hiding the eyes, leaving the mouth. Very nice. Very feminine pose. The only thing I recommend is the background is much too dark. Very, very dark. So I'm taking care of that. And what that's done is it's thrown off your light environment. So just doing this has fixed all the problems. What's she doing? What was she doing? So saturated and so bright and not being a light source herself in such a dark environment. Just this correction alone has fixed pretty much all your problems. All that would be left is taking care of the I would just yeah, bring in some form, bring in some cool values, versions of the greens, more blue greens into the shadows. Saturate where need be, subsurface scattering where it's needed. I like to place one a little bit further so it looks like she's walking. But yeah, beautiful design. I would totally love to see this in a movie. This is beautiful. Like if they had spent a little bit more time on Epic, that movie, and they really took their time and tried to bring in characters that looked like that, it would have been such a mystical movie. But it just looked like everyone was wearing, or some characters looked like they were just wearing costumes instead of designing real creatures. Just that it's not a creature because it's a person in the shape of a person, more of a humanoid than a creature. One collective issue that's kind of separating all the units of the design from each other is the fact that nothing is sharing the same light source. So what we have to do is make everything respond to the same light source. And we do that by getting the exact light source color, just like before, getting a light source color and making sure everything is responding to that. So going to the yellows, getting a yellow white, soft light, and just using that color on all of the areas that are getting the light, shrinking it as it's needed. So just like that, it's going to make the legs feel a little bit more three-dimensional and more part of a light environment. So what I'm doing right now is trying to sculpt along basic geometry, which is the cylinder. Over here, that's where you run into a little bit of issues that I was saying. You need to bring in cooler greens, blue greens into this area. Cast some shadows off this petal piece onto the thigh. Make sure that the cast shadow takes the shape of the thigh, so it actually looks three-dimensional. Right along here too. So your blending is just a little bit challenged, and what you have to do is go back to your geometry. So this is a sign. If I were to diagnose what you need to study for the next couple of weeks is some form studies. Definitely do some geometric studies, because right now basic blending, basic deciding where you're going to place shadows is pretty challenged in your work. Exemplary here. I like this little bit going into, like, it's just very similar to when you pick a flower and you see that it's like that it's turning into a root, and the root is more brown. I like that. I really like that touch. So her feet kind of get dirty because she's walking along soil. Make sure it's not just all the way up to the knees though. Color. Make sure it's just gradual. And subsurface scattering, I'm not sure if there's much of a chance here for it. You do have shadows that sit along here, which you might take advantage of that and cast some shadows. And in the cast shadow, if the light has cheated its way in somehow, then you can throw in some subsurface scattering. The beautiful thing about flowers is that they're just so translucent as well as colorful and silky. So you have a lot of cheating opportunities, I guess we can call them. You have a lot of anatomy to hide mistakes behind, really, because it's translucent, it's colorful, it's saturated. The texture there isn't much texture on a flower's petal. So you get to get away with a lot of mistakes. It's that kind of anatomy. And we have some more cast shadows over here. And the reason why I know where to place these cast shadows is because I've done form studies. And my brain is aware of what to do when one object is in the way of another. So the light is coming from this direction. So this part of the petal would get some light as well. You can see it's not changing the design to bring in cast shadows. It's actually benefiting the design. So it's not a bad thing once in a while to bring in some realism. Okay, this area here, definite cast shadow, normal. Definite cast shadow over here. And then some more just basic cylinders. That kind of glitchy blending style you've used has thrown off some of the geometric signatures behind the form. And what that means is that because you made it so painterly, you were kind of bringing in shadows where they didn't belong because it was so painterly. And that made it, again, feel like it wasn't three-dimensional. We want three-dimensional. Trust me, you want three-dimensional over unless you're strictly forbidden from using 3 dimensions and you're expected to produce a style. Always assume that it's wanted. Okay, just at the height of this thigh, we're getting some light. Right over here, some pretty strong sunlight shining on this. Might be some subsurface scattering just along here, but I don't know if I can cheat it. It's part of this, like, it's just in a shadowy area. We're not going to get away with it. Maybe some over here reflecting onto the face, but that's it really. It was mostly the darkness that you had. Saturation is just a little bit over the top. So I would just get the sponge tool and desaturate. And I would just desaturate just a little bit everywhere. The green shouldn't be screaming. It shouldn't be a screaming green. It should be a little bit more friendly, because what's basically generating the saturation right now is the petal and this bit right here and that white. So that green added just a little bit of extra confusion. You want to saturate only around areas that the light touches anyway. And then I am going to cool the greens like I said I would. So color, cooling down the greens just means shifting it to blue. Doing nothing else. You're just shifting it to blue. Alright, so let me select this properly again. Select inverse, hide. Objects in the shadows get cooled, and we're just finding the cooler version of that green, which is a blue green, not a yellow green. Green is very dangerous because it's a mix of yellow, which does not look good dark, but it's a mix of blue, which does look good dark. So you got like a crazy little relationship happening. Okay, and then some more shadows over here. We'll just finish up these beautiful cast shadows. I love cast shadows. They really complete a piece. I'm just going to get that cool version of that green. Just along here we get a little bit of light from that stem, catching some light. But again, some more cast shadows off this piece. Beautiful job. I love the way it looks like a little shirt or a dress or a skirt, but it's not. And we see this emptiness where we usually have a lot of form. I really, really love that. Some of this petal will reflect on top. So we grab this pink and we reflect it on top of the green as a secondary bounce light. Same thing over here. It's just strong enough to do that. Of course, it's not completely strong, not thorough, because it's not a reflective flower petal. It's just a slight tossing of the color. I'm going to desaturate just a little bit more right before I finish up, just along anything that's purely white, because white likes to desaturate when it's really, really shining. Light likes to desaturate. And just over here, sorry, I'm going to cast some more cast shadows. I have this. Cast shadow on that. And this doesn't have any cast shadows on it. You could spend a little bit more time on the lips because they are the only part of the face that's visible. But honestly, this is really, really cute, really pretty. We've definitely captured the nature of the flower, which is very, very feminine. An orchid is, as you know, related to female anatomy a lot. Alright, there's just a little bit of light bouncing and moving through the petal, and it's just a little bit of pink shining through. Do you see that? Just a little bit of light shining through on top. Color and some more green. So let's look at the before and after. I would make the background even lighter because there's just so much brightness, and she seems like she comes out in the day. She's not really a night bloomer, this character. So I would say she comes out in the day. I'd make it just a little brighter, just to show all that bright cast shadow is sourcing out of a sun. Sorry, this area is really tricky. There we go. Okay, Control C, alright, layer, before, after. Okay, and it's a very big change. Let me show you how it would look if the background wasn't needed. Like we didn't need to change the background, just looking at the corrections in the positive space. Okay, so before, oops, before, after. A little bit more form, looks a little bit more three-dimensional, a little bit more rounded off. Your blending here was just a little messy, and you just have to even that out. So I like how you gave the feeling of like a bra or like a female bust without actually having to draw boobs. That was really, really smart. It's like a collar. Really, really smart design. You just have to clean up your blending just a little bit. Your saturation, make sure it focuses all the way back to the focal point, which is the bust area. And make sure that you're thinking about the secondary light source, bounce light, all of that stuff you can take into a lab environment. You don't have to make these mistakes on your next, character design, in your next masterpiece, in your next portfolio piece. You don't have to make all these errors and pay for them with your portfolio. You can make them in a lab environment where it doesn't count. Make as many mistakes. It's a closed lab environment. It's grayscaled. And that's it. And that's what form studies are for, making these mistakes instead of having to make them on stage. Okay, so any questions? Shadows and highlights desaturate, and the mid-tone is the most saturated, right? Yes, absolutely, because take a look. No colors up here, barely. I mean, I don't call this a real color because this is a light source saturation. It's a no man's land color. So we're basically looking at anything we can use. Very little color here and very little color here, but just along here we get the most richness. I mean, this is green. We get the most richness out of red right here. Really usable colors. The most greens we could use are just about here. Friendly, usable saturation levels right here. I mean, this becomes no man's land, this becomes pastel, this becomes grayed out, and this becomes too dark. So just right here is where it's just the sweet spot for all colors. Majority of all colors, that's the sweet spot. Purple gets a little bit darker, so to get saturation you need to go a little darker, because blue and red are very dark and their spawn is going to be just a bit darker. Okay, this is an example of trying to turn on your character. It just looks like turn on your viewer, okay? Why we don't want to turn on our viewers? Because it eclipses over the character design. You're permanently drawing. I'm going to use this example. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I'm using it, but I want to give you like exactly what I'm talking about and express what I'm talking about. Imagine like I can't even talk about it because it's so bad and there's kids watching. Damn it. You basically just don't want to turn on your viewer. You don't want to make it look like a sex theme party or something like that, okay? Or mature adult videos that have themes. That's basically what it looks like. It's going to look like an adult video theme. It's got like like costumes in it and shit like that. So what we want to do is avoid that. We want to use the gesture as a way to express the character. He looks like he's very, very proud of his body. He's very naked, so it's hard to tell are you using brawn or magic. If he's a magician, if he's some kind of, it's hard to tell where you're pulling from, because you're pulling from two different character tropes to express this character. One of them is the big, mean, weapon-wielding tough guy, and he's got his whip too. And one of them is his cowl and his dress, and very, very modest dress down here. So what I would suggest, if you want to salvage just what's left of this character design without having the little stigma of turning on your character or depending on a really, really sexy pose, you can dress him up and change the weapon, change it to a more melee weapon, because that would explain why he's so proud of his pose, why he looks like a cocky swordsman or a cocky warrior. As for a magician is more religious, a little bit more modest, dressed modestly, a little bit less cocky. Why we want to depend on these tropes? Because they read from a distance. Games use these tropes all the time. They read from a distance. Unless the monk is supposed to be wearing like very little clothes, like in Diablo, the monk wears very little clothes. So it's okay, it's fine. It's if he has muscles, he's just going to show them, like a Shaolin monk or something like that. They're monks through physical worship, or perfecting their body through physical worship. So if you wanted to go in that route, you can go in that route, like in some way. It just feels like the chest is deliberately naked, especially with that whip and the pose. Very, very confident, very cocky pose. No pun intended. So I do recommend you figure that out somehow. It's reading as a little bit cheesy, a little bit cliche. The pose, when you go to Google and you Google male body, you can tell that guy sucked in his gut, didn't eat for 4 days, shed 20 pounds of water weight to take that picture. So it's very unrealistic. And again, we're allowed to have unrealistic form and anatomy in our paintings, but his pose really is what makes it cheesy. I'm just going to go ahead and search it. Male, sculpted male. It's just gonna look like the cheesiest poses you've ever seen, man. Nobody poses like this. Nobody does this. Nobody does. This guy hasn't drank water in 17 days. They're very, very cheesy, and they're not good for character design. But if you think like, okay, you want to draw someone who's super, super massive, okay, you just search them up in their element. Okay, so look at this motherfucking badass. All right, he looks like he has mass. Maybe he did shed water for the weigh-in, but doesn't matter now. You have more organic, no, definitely not these poses. This looks stupid. But, you know, in their element, in the ring, you really, really see them in their most natural poses. And you can use these exact poses in your character design. All right? So don't search up that plain fashion photography, modeling for a watch or a men's cologne in a magazine and posing like a douchebag. You want to really look them up in their element, and that's the best silhouette, the best gesture line to follow through. So if he was some really super strong, super cocky, but deservingly cocky because he's probably wield a weapon that's 15 of me, you know, you have to dress him up in his element. You have to give him the gesture that reflects his strength level, his character, his personality, his obsession, like his militia background, his characterization. And it really helps you to look them up in their element. I can't express it enough. Right? These are real poses you can use in your character designs. Same thing for females. Okay, so again, not the posed pictures because those look stupid. Nobody poses like this. You look them up in their element. Usually it's all this stupid forced. So this is why it's even harder for females, because women have to look good no matter what. This is going to get more and more raunchy the lower I scroll. I have to find a good one. Okay, this one's pretty good. Holly Holmes, she's an ass kicker. She poses normally most of the time. There's this one as well. So for that person who asked about how to draw a fit woman while keeping them looking female, don't search up Chris Cyborg. Just keep it in the normal, non-enhanced females. I guess this is the only one, and this one looks pretty normal, looks pretty average. Where was that other one I found? I can't find it. The Holly Holmes one. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. We're going to go back to this as really, really forced pose. It looks like a theme, dress-up day, Saturnalia kind of deal. So just take that into consideration. You do have some monochromatic skin tones. Bring in some yellow whites on the highlights and some purple, more red values on the shadows. Okay, so let me see if I can stay in theme. Let's talk about this one. For this, let's take a look. The bags of the eyes, being tiny little bumps in the face, are getting all of this shadow. But for some reason, the most molar core shadows didn't warrant any, the most molar remnants of the geometry didn't warrant any shadow use. I wonder why. It's because you didn't zoom out enough. When you zoom out, you can really see, hey, give me a minute. This whole face is a sphere. This whole face is a tiny little eye bag. And it needs to be addressed that way. You need to have the beard shadow and all these other shadows. Even if it changes the face, doesn't matter. Form and science comes first. And then your story. And then whatever it is you wanted to do with the face. Okay, so we're missing like this super important shadow on the halfway mark. It was pure white. It looked flat. That's not good. Okay, so you were missing one of the most important shadows, the initial shadow on the first sphere, ever, the most native geometry, which comes from the sphere. Its shadow was missing. So you draw it shadow by shadow. You go shadow by shadow, step by step. The more advanced, the higher the poly count, the more shadows you get. But you start with the original shadow, which comes from the original shape. That can sum this up the best. Okay, so now it feels like just a little bit more realistic. I'm radially introducing these shadows. this cast shadow is just a little bit strong. So I'm going to take some questions now, so go ahead and write your questions. You need to spend some time, again, doing form studies, you as well. You'll come back to your paintings much stronger. Any artist who's not doing form studies right now, you're doing yourself a big disservice. Just try to paint some spheres and cubes at least once a week. And if you don't have anything to draw, you still have that paint at least one thing a day. That one thing a day can just be a form study. It's not a loss to spend time learning where to put shadows. That's what a form study is, doing the most important job in helping you improve, telling you, hey, you need to put shadows here and here. If anything is out there telling you and helping you to put accurate shadows down, you need to give that thing some attention, because that's God's work right there. That's the real portfolio changing study. Memorizing where best to put shadows and where to avoid putting shadows, where to put highlights, how to put highlights. Okay, so I made the lips a little bit more believable and descending like dimples. Connected this because she's a little bit laughing. Or smiling, I mean. Yeah, use the Istebrak tag, whatever, at Istebrak, so I can see your questions. Please make sure the questions are relevant to this topic. Don't ask random stuff. Please. It's really awkward. Okay, so just a couple more changes. Alright, so that's all I would change for this for now. I feel like you tried to make a masterpiece with the hair and the expression and the evil and the story. But just remember, kill your darling, kill your baby, move on to the next one. Don't hover over her for too long. Don't flirt for too long, okay? Just move on to the next one. Move on to the next one. As quick as possible. Quick, fast. Alright, Istebrak, how do you find inspiration to do art? I just said, ask me stuff relating to this. Is the chin too long for the angle she's facing? Yes, it was, but I kind of feel like it added to her sinister face. So that's why I didn't have so much of a problem with it. They were going for something that was a little bit evil and sinister. But yeah, she had a massive chin. If she looked up at us, directly up at us, her chin would equal to a lot more space visible. It would be a lot more large. What's giving her the scary look? So you see a scary look, you don't know what exactly. The hooded eyes, the darkened eyes. Whenever you darken the eyes, whenever you do anything to the eyes, you remove some whites of the eyes, you do something, you lose trust in that person. Whenever someone's eyes aren't visible, you lose trust. That's it. You want to see someone's eyes. That's like that saying, seeing the white of your eyes. So come here so I can see the white of your eyes. You want to be able to really be able to look at the person and meet them. But if you can't meet that person, if it's like I don't know how to describe it really. If you can't attach yourself to that person on a relatable ground or like just this relatable human relationship that we have, we talk to each other just with our eyes. So if the eyes hooded are not there, there's nothing to talk to. There's nothing at the receiving end of that face. The eyes are closed. The person's dead. And that's why we don't, that's why we feel a little bit suspicious of people who are shifty-eyed, who don't look at you straight in the face. Why some people we can tell if they're lying when they look. It's hard to trust. As well as the downward turn, we're seeing no nostrils, so her head is turned downward, and her smile and her eyebrows, which are pointing down. So if her eyebrows were pointing up just a little bit, if they were just looking up like this, she wouldn't look so scary, because this is innocence. Yeah, but because her eyebrows are tilted down, there is no innocence at all. Very, very untrustworthy. All right, more questions. How to study forms in grayscale and look up references. You can look up something like this and just study it. So basic forms images. You can look up stuff like this. I have a video on my form study process and how I do my form studies. So block my channel. Okay, form study process. So you can just take a look at what I'm doing here. This is how I studied forms. You can copy it. I use lasso and a brush, and I just use it, keep pointing to the same light source. It's really, really super fun. I need to do these once in a while. I need to go back to these. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. Make sure you're in grayscale. And try some cast shadows and stuff. Istebrak, how would you alter her hairline at this angle? Something doesn't look right. I feel like it looks fine. The hairline should be low because we're looking down. She's looking down, and we're looking down at her. She's looking up at us. So I think the hairline isn't the biggest problem at all. I think the hair texture is a little bit too noisy and messy, and that's really what's giving you throwing off the hair just a little bit. Takes notes. Don't flirt for too long. Move on to the next one. Long-term relationships are overrated. My characters end up half naked because I don't know how to dress them. Have you ever talked about clothing and drapery? How do I practice it? That's costume design. That comes from like learning their job, and it comes a lot with the narrative, Rosalinda. So if you have a narrative that you're pulling this character from, ask them what would they choose, how would they dress themselves, what would they choose? Would they choose a short skirt, or would they choose a gauntlet, or would they choose pants? You have to ask yourself about the narrative if you're designing characters. That's why a writer is so important to the building of a story. Like, it's really, really important. Even like a show or a game, you need a writer. Not of course a show, but a game, like you need a writer, a really strong spine in the narrative to keep all of to help with the decision-making process. That and going on Pinterest and looking at some cool costume designs. Fill up your visual library. Does a still life count as a form study? Yes, it does. Absolutely it does. Grayscale it though. Color is just going to get in your way. We do form studies so we can practice form signatures, cast shadows, bounce light, texture, all that beautiful stuff. And color is just getting in the way. Color is a decoration. We didn't need it as humans, but we were gifted color. Yeah, those are all the questions. As for how to stay inspired, I'm personally struggling with that as well. But three things that I do: I watch shows of themes that I love. I look at other artists and artists that I really admire that make me hurt inside. And then I look up a new brush set, or I make a new brush set. That stuff keeps me inspired. Those are three things that I do. Maybe they'll help you. This is really quick. I wanted to take a look at it. The nose is really underdeveloped, and what's happened is you don't know how to paint a nose right now, and you've hidden it with all kinds of stuff. The nose is way too small for the face. It's underdeveloped, and it felt like the rest of her face aged except her nose, a very baby nose. Her face is just a little bit short for her age. Her neck is extremely overdefined. Again, more symbols. You have a lot of symbol issues in your painting. For a female neck, we should not be seeing this many tendons and this many muscles and whatever they're called. We should see a lot more of a softer surface. I guess all I can really say is this should have been a study, and you made it a masterpiece, and you're doing yourself a disservice. I don't care if I've repeated, if I've said this for the 200th time. I'll say it whenever it needs to be said. These pearls, all this beautiful stuff that you spent a lot of time on, isn't going to change the fact, and isn't going to distract me and the viewer from the fact from seeing the fact that you don't know how to draw a nose yet. Your lips look pretty good. But you need to get into studying a nose and the mechanics behind a nose and the geometry. And I made a video about it, and it's available for you. It's hours and hours of instructing. So just pointing you to that. And then these. So a couple of issues. If you did watch the nose video, you'll see that I say you're not allowed to have values so close to the lighter area. If something is inside the lower facing portions of a geometry, it's just it's gonna stay dark. You don't just illuminate it. Okay, so these parts of the nostrils they just get dark. That's it. They stay dark. Okay, And then that said, the cast shadow is too dark. Right, it does get darker the closer it gets to the nose, but it gets fuzzier and lighter. So the cast shadow gets lighter as it gets blurry. Write that back to me. All right, when it gets blurry, it means that the light is no longer focused in a laser stream. It's allowing more light into the shadow where the shadow should have been. And after you get a good hold of that, what you gotta do is strengthen your radial shading. So I'm just grabbing some dark value I can find over here. By the way, guys, for the kids in the audience, like anyone who's like 14 and under, I swear a lot, but please don't listen to me. Don't swear like I do. I've had a shit life. I've had a very shitty life. So I swear, you know, as a way to just get back at the universe and stick my middle finger up at the air, and at the clouds. But if you've got a pretty good life, you've got it going on. Just don't swear like I do, okay? Just don't swear. I really can't. I can't help it. I have to swear. And but I feel very bad because I know a lot of kids watch my stuff. I don't want you to pick up my bad habits. I think swearing is a very beautiful thing. Just with a couple words, like spells. You know, when you cast a spell, you use words. I feel like swearing does that. It really helps you like release some tension. But if you're good, you know, you got no tension to release. You're getting your pony next month. Don't swear like I do. And if you're 15 and I'm pretty sure you got nothing to worry about. Unless, you know, you've had some really tough times. At that point, I can't really tell you what to do. But I just don't know what I'm saying. Just don't swear like I do. Okay? I'm bad. Swearing's bad. Okay? Alright, so that's the bounce light for the nose. And just with these changes, the nose is reading a little better. We need a little bit more sharpness just over didn't finish it. My pauses are very awkward and very sudden. I'm sorry. But yeah, that should be enough. Your value sharing. Okay, so there's that first. Take care of that. So your value sharing between this part of the nose and this should all be lighter because it's nowhere near that part. This is a cavity, this is an elevation. Okay, so just gonna blend that real quick. And all of these reasons, everything that I just changed, I explain exactly why I did it in the How to Paint Nose video, so just go look it up. Yeah, some people swear. That doesn't mean we have to ourselves. Okay. What's cringy? The way I swear? Hey, I'm a pretty good swearer. I have some good combinations. I mean, sometimes I say the stupidest stuff, like I don't want to offend anyone, but sometimes I just swear like "Holy Jesus" in a bucket. I don't know where I invented that, but it's so stupid. It's not even creative. I'm sorry if that offended you in your religion. I'm an idiot. But no, but sometimes I have pretty good swears, Nick. All right? Oh, okay. Okay. Not me. Good. Thought so. All right, before, after. Before, after. So a little bit too much value sharing. I pushed up the eye socket just a little bit. I gave the nose some volume. And then this little light you had down here is just too much. Okay, there shouldn't be that much shadow on the sides of the bridge of the nose. I mean, why would there be shadow? It's on a mountain. It's exposed to light. It's like, take me, light. And the rest of the face, like, no, I'm a recessed cavity. Don't shed any light on me. Istebrak is a good sailor. You need examples, like really good swears? Well, my favorite one is the C one. I don't know why I'm so shy of saying it. I say it a lot, but I guess the kids. I don't forget the kids, man. When did I start giving so much of a crap about the kids? I guess the older you get, the more wary you are of, how you raise the generations. Especially because if you're not having any kids of your own, you want to make sure you don't leave behind a mess. So Google Plus, if you want to join the community, make sure you read the rules. Make sure you upload to the right topic. Please make sure if you are a 14-day challenger and you're not getting any critiques, offer critiques. It's okay for you to provide critiques, even if you're not advanced. If you're at the level or lower than the person you're critiquing, does not mean that that you can't critique them. You still can see basic anatomy issues, which will help them more than you think. If you liked today's video, just like and subscribe. And if you're not getting notifications on my streams or when I'm doing the classes, there's a little bell here. If you haven't turned on that bell, you won't get any notifications. So make sure you turn that on. And Twitter is where I announce some basic announcements. Facebook, if you want your stuff sent back to you, if you wanted the final copies. And Instagram is where I post some basic stuff as well. So that's it. That's it for today. Istebrak swearing and swear critique community. Swearing is an important tool to express certain emotions. Yeah, and to access them as well. Sometimes we just have no other way. Fotzi? Cunt is even prettier in German. Fotzi. I like merde. I love that. I love saying it. Merde. Merde. Swearing in Arabic is the best. Oh my god. Someone's always the son of a shoe or the son of something that is either a donkey, a shoe, or a dog. If you call anyone a donkey, a shoe, or a dog in Arabia, you will get your ass kicked. How do I get good at critiquing my own work? Disrupting your visual tunnel vision. So flipping the canvas. Melissa, taking a step away from your painting for a couple hours or just at least half an hour and coming back to it, you'll see some mistakes. But really, Melissa, the reason why we get into a community is because it really isn't possible to see all the mistakes you're making unless someone else, a second pair of eyes, comes in and shows you. So that's, you just have to be able to expose yourself to people as much as possible. Saying that you're going to do it on your own is a very bad mistake. It's a very big mistake. No, mate, swearing in Irish is brilliant too. Son of a shepherd. Teach us to swear in Arabic. No. Dude, I think my brother was abducted or something because no one has seen him all day. Oh, Nick. Oh my god. Can I submit my swears to get them reviewed by you? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, everyone. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in today. I'll see you on Tuesday the 14th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Please remember that Daylight Savings Time begins on Sunday, March 12, 2017 at 2 a.m. The clock is set to go forward 1 hour. So if your Daylight Savings isn't going to change, class is most likely going to be an hour later for you because it's going to go an hour forward for me, so fall back, spring forward. So 5:30 is going to actually be 6:30 for you. No, 5:30 is going to be 5:30 for me, but it's going to be an hour before if you haven't changed. It's gonna be an hour forward if you haven't changed. But if you changed as well, it's going to be time as usual. But if your time hasn't changed or it gets delayed at a later time, or sometimes not every time zone changes, I know that. Everyone changes at different times. But yeah, I'll let you guys go. See you guys around. Bye-bye.